All right, thank you so much. It's great to be here and to have a chance to talk with you all today. So again, my name is Dennis, and it's a real pleasure to kind of be here. Let me just kind of get over to the right slide. And so I'm just going to give you kind of a quick overview in terms of kind of a quick agenda. I always love to answer the who, what, where kind of a questions. And so give a quick and brief overview on some of the details about LucidLink. But really the fun part is actually handled by my colleague, Rich Warren, who's going to give a brief demo on LucidLink. And we always like when we do these all the time, Rich and I, we love to kind of get questions and answer those. A lot of times when we do things like this, it does foster conversations and questions. So it would encourage people to kind of put those questions in the chat, and we'll happily, answer them in line or on the webinar as we kind of go along. So the first question is, what is LucidLink? It's a great question. And again, the who, what, where is very simple, right? LucidLink at its most basic is a real-time storage collaboration platform that allows creatives or knowledge workers, people who handle documents, to be their most efficient or their most creative. And while we are a cloud solution, I want to kind of talk about how we're different, right? Because a lot of us who have worked, in cloud solutions for a long time, well, when I upload something to share with you, well, I have a copy, you have a copy, you have a copy, we all have copies. So there is no single source of truth. Who has the right version? Oh, I did this, I did that, V2, V3, all these different kind of file names does not really foster the kind of collaboration. So one of the areas where LucidLink is different is in that center point, we are a single source of truth. And I'm actually going to show, as my last slide or nearly last slide, a visual that kind of really illustrates and underscores what the point of that is. And so also, while we talk about cloud solutions, everyone's moving to the cloud. I want to delineate that LucidLink is very different in a lot of ways, primarily because you do not need to download any of the files to be able to access them, right? So, as we go through this, particularly as Rich kind of walks through a brief overview of LucidLink, I hope that you'll kind of ask that almost rhetorical question: how important is time to your workflow? We've literally had many customers come back and tell us, you are saving us 50% or more time. We are able to do projects faster or do them better. And ultimately, that's what's going to impact your business. So as we talk about the LucidLink at a glance or LucidLink by the numbers, this is always a fun slide for me because I have to edit it about every week to 10 days. Currently, we have 60,000 registered or named users with over 2,500 customers, and we have clients downloaded in over 150 countries. And then finally, we're typically growing about 1 to 1.5 petabytes per month. And so currently we have about 38 petabytes, but come the end of March, we're going to be at 39 or even closer to 40 petabytes. Now at the bottom, it's actually really interesting to kind of share there. Our largest single customer has over 3 petabytes of data stored in the cloud using LucidLink with over 1,000 users. So that means that no matter what size company you are, we have hundreds of concurrent users interacting with a single file space with no slowdown. In fact, actually quite the opposite. Their overall productivity is faster and better than ever before. One of the things that's going to be important for enterprises especially is the idea of security. There's a lot of cloud solutions, and we've all heard about something being hacked or broken into or something. LucidLink employs a zero knowledge security model. And I know that Rich will kind of get into some of the details on that, but suffice it to say for now, all of the data that you might put up in a LucidLink file space is encrypted in flight at rest. And ultimately, when we say zero knowledge, that means only you, the customer, can actually see and access that data. LucidLink, I have no way to see any of that 38 petabytes of data. It's all yours. You own it. Why should we be able to see that? Similarly, if you bring your own cloud object storage bucket to the game, neither can AWS or Microsoft or anything. Really, the security is something that is incredibly important and fundamental to our overall architecture. And then we have a really unique, fascinating, and different product that's going to help productivity. But it's not just a great product. It has terrific support and customer success, right? So I'd love to tell everyone, hey, you never have any problems. And for 99% of our customers, there's never any questions or issues. They're just singing the praises. But if you do have a question, we're typically answering over 90% of those on the very first try. And on top of that, we are thrilled to be partnering with ASTI. And they're going to provide so much value and input into the customer experience. But we also have a customer success team. That means that your time to value, we want to make sure that you're successful with ASTI and with LucidLink as quickly as possible. And there at the bottom, you can see all of the awards and rankings that we're getting in terms of products and services. Now, we are focused on the AEC market here today, but it's, ultimately, where does LucidLink fit? We fit anywhere where there's a lot of data or large files, right? So the ad agency space, media and entertainment, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, publishing, and sports. So you can see here, though, kind of highlighted in color is a number of the different companies that might fit or be related to that AEC space. You can see quite a number of them, but as well as large customers in all kinds of different areas across the business spectrum. So I'm starting to wind down already, but I want to I talked about that visual, right? LucidLink functions as the single source of truth. There's no multiple copies. We have a variety of people on here. Let's say there was 100 people on the call right now, and I upload a file that everyone wants to be able to access. Again, with a lot of the solutions that are out there, copies have to be made or pushed down to each local computer or desktop before we can do that. LucidLink functions as that single source of truth. You have immediate access to your data. What we're ultimately doing is we're solving the problem of distance without compromising performance or security, right? And think about it. We obviously went through that pandemic, and while the office policies are changing, the idea of fully remote or a hybrid between remote and in-office workflows really is starting to be considered the new normal. So whatever your office policy might be no in-office or 3 days in the office or what have you, the LucidLink workflow doesn't change. I'm going into the office today, I connect to LucidLink, I do my work. The same thing when I'm working from home or I'm on location or I'm traveling on business and in a hotel room. It doesn't matter. You can have the real-time collaboration and get access to the data immediately. So last slide for me, and then I want to hand it over to Rich. But what I would say is, regardless, if you're looking for a different solution or you're at that point in your buying cycle where you're needing a storage platform, really the first thing I would reemphasize is that LucidLink is about a collaboration platform that happens to have storage. But when we're talking about storage, these 6 vectors are really important, right? So for example, scalability. Everyone always needs more storage. You have 100 terabytes today, you need 150 two years from now, or whatever that number might be. With an in-office kind of NAS or SAN, you have to kind of bring in a whole drive and bring up something new. With LucidLink, because it's a cloud solution, it just scales up to whatever you want. So I would honestly encourage everyone to kind of say, hey, how does my storage solution or the things that I'm looking at, do I care about these things? And if so, does some of the solutions that I'm looking at check some of these boxes? And the one I always like to bring up is the one that we give up so easily, which is simplicity. LucidLink is very simple. You install the client, and then what do you have to do in terms of learning how to use it? Well, it looks like a local drive. It shares like a NAS, and it scales with the cloud. But that first one is the idea of the workflow. It looks and acts like a local drive or an externally connected drive. So as long as you know how to double click and open that drive, that's all there is to it. So look, I've kind of dashed through everything, but I hope that this will foster some conversation. Again, feel free to ask some questions. But for the time being, I'd love to hand it over to Rich to kind of walk you through a bit of what makes LucidLink tick.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. So yeah, let's think about this. Get a better idea of LucidLink, and you're going to see what I'm going to do here. Imagine having an external drive, and you plug it into the USB port on your computer, right? Imagine being able to have other people can plug into that drive from anywhere in the world. That cable could be thousands of miles long, right? Well, what LucidLink is doing, it's giving you a drive, what we call local block storage device, not just appear as a local drive, but function as a local drive. The cable to that drive with LucidLink is your internet connection. All right? Bear with me here. Now, what I'm going to do, well, every Windows, Linux, or Mac machine that's going to connect to a LucidLink file space has got to install the LucidLink software client. That's what you see on the screen. I've already done that on this Windows machine. I'm going to connect to this file space. Now, how do I refer to a file space? You see this cloud.workflow. Well, cloud is the file space name. Workflow is the domain or account name. So I could have one file space or multiple file spaces in a single domain/account. And that's how I refer to a particular file space. So somebody else at another company can have their company, maybe their company is called, let's use the old one, Acme, right? So cloud.acme, or it could be, projects.acme or what have you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a top administrator to this file space. Now, this is pretty important here when it comes to security. This is the top administrator to the file space. When I set this password, which happens right when I create the file space, the first user ever created is user root. Setting that password is actually what encrypts the file space. It's this username password that is entered that decrypts the encryption key. What does that mean? Oh, this is huge. I wouldn't put any of my data in the cloud, unless it was basically on LucidLink. Here's why. Everything is encrypted at the client side. The only way you can decrypt it, one, you need to get the encryption key from the LucidLink, right? And you got to enter the correct username password. Guess what? You're the only one that knows this username password. That means you're the only one that ever has access to the data. Can't say that across the board. Now I'm going to enter the password here for this user. Remember, we can't reset that password either. Only you have it. And like I said, that means only you have access to the data. Well, here we go. Check it out. I have a file space here. I have this mounted as my L drive. I also use a UNC path, but believe me, we're not using SMB, NFS, or anything like that. It's our own protocol. I can mount this however I choose. Drive letter alone, UNC path plus drive letter, as you see here. In the AEC world, especially with applications like Bluebeam, Revit, and such, this is the way we would mount it. And you see, we got a bunch of stuff here. All right. Pretty cool. We got drive. We got a bunch of files and folders. How does this open up? Well, if I have Bluebeam here, and I could go to my PDF folder. I got a big PDF here. I just simply double click on it and it opens up in Bluebeam. Now let's take a look at what's going on. If I look at my LucidLink client, where is this storage? This storage for this file space is at an IBM Cloud Object Storage data center in Frankfurt, Germany. The cable to this storage, which is unlimited, the cable to it is my internet connection. So this means I truly have global access. I could be anywhere. You could go on a vacation in Tahiti. As long as you have an internet connection, you're making a connection here. The internet is your cable. All right? Pretty cool. We did one more thing. What did Lucid, if I had to say, if someone asked me, what did LucidLink do that nobody else has done in the world today? We made cloud storage function no differently than local block storage. What the heck does that mean, right? Well, that means we made cloud storage function as a local drive. Not only look, but function. Two parts to that. Remember on old drives, you put a memory chip on there, disk cache. Well, check it out. That's what we're doing. We use some of that SSD. 25 gig is the default size, 25 gig. So what does that mean? Just like the way disk cache works, this is not a file cache, this is disk cache. So that means when I write to the file space, I write to the cache first, behind the scenes, just like in the old days with spinning hard drives. You wrote to that disk cache, the memory chip that was put on the disk, and then it was flushed to the disk, which was then what? Chopped up into millions of tiny pieces. Well, let me show you what it looks like in a LucidLink file space. In the old days, before LucidLink in ancient times, this is what a storage bucket looked like in the cloud. I see the files, 2 files. This is the problem. My computer can't use this. This is the smallest piece of the file that I could get. Normal cloud bucket. This is why we came up with all these things like Dropbox Box and Google Drive and all this stuff, to where we bring it down to our machine, which was then what? Chopped up into millions of tiny pieces. Because the way we read data off of a local drive, think back to the old days when you do Windows defrag and everything, you saw those tiny blocks move around. That's the way your data was chopped up. Here are those tiny little blocks. You want to know something? Each one of these tiny blocks is encrypted. How do I decrypt it? Well, I need the LucidLink client, don't I? I got to successfully enter the username password in the LucidLink client. Each one of these blocks is compressed and encrypted. And the only way to tie it together is through the metadata that we create when we successfully write each block to the file space. This is as secure as it gets. So that's the way it's working. That's the way it's working. We're making everybody local from everywhere. There's a very simple example here. But you know what? I could go to another Windows machine anywhere else in the world. Let's do it. Let's do it. Here's another Windows machine. Look at this. I'm logged in as a different user. We had a lot more folders, didn't we? I could restrict access on a folder by folder basis. Read only, read write, or don't give any access at all. I only see 4 folders here. So I could restrict access, create users, groups, give permissions on a per folder basis. But one of the most important things that we need, say especially a Bluebeam world, right? When it comes to PDFs, we want this to function as local storage, now don't we? Let's go into that same file. Let's open it up. Look at that. My storage is in Frankfurt, Germany. I got 2 Windows machines connected to this unlimited capacity hard drive in Frankfurt, Germany. And it's behaving like local storage because we will honor this file locking too. It is local storage. Isn't that freaking cool? All right. What I'm going to do, it's going to get better. It's going to get there. Wait, there's more. I'm going to turn it over to David now. He's going to show you some even more cooler stuff. Take it away, David.
I think you're muted right now, David.
Yep, sorry about that. So the one thing Rich mentioned was file locking, and that is one thing that LucidLink does very well, even with CAD files and BIM files like Revit or Civil 3D. So I will close that. So what I have here is a couple of things. I have the area that's kind of got the black screen with the work spot is a virtual machine running on Azure, and then these Explorer windows here are running on my local machine. So if I open up in my VM on Azure, what I want to show you just very quickly is, all right, so this is the folder we are looking at right now is a file space for LucidLink. And we're going to drive down into this folder. So right now there is not a folder here right now, or a file here right now. So if we want to, let's say, copy one over, I've got this C, I'm on my local C drive here, and we're going to take just a sample Revit file from the default installation. I'm going to take it here, and this is the same folder, LucidLink folder, that is, don't do that, that is on the VM. So we're going to watch a couple of things here. So go down to the same folder. This is a command prompt where we're going to watch the LucidLink file do its magic here. So here, almost immediately shows up there. And then what it's doing in the background is doing the, I'll call it the initial commit, right? So Rich talked about put this going to cloud storage. So this is doing that initial copy up to the cloud storage. So it's going to take a little longer here. And then you can see as it's updating that the file size updates. So we'll just let that run. I don't want to keep on it. I'll show the file locking. So if we do, if we open up Revit, and I'm going to open a file. I'm going to go, sure, this same file we just copied just into a different project that was already there. So I'm going to open it on the Azure machine in Revit on the Azure machine. Then I'm going to also open it locally. Oh, I thought it was right. And that's already done, so that would be ready. So now I'm going to put this side by side. I'm going to open that same file, or try to, I should say. Oh, sorry. So that is the same path. Here's the file. It does, LucidLink does respect work sharing. So we could make a central file out of this, and it will respect that capability. I'm just opening up a pure Revit file, a single file here. Apparently my machine is slower than the one in Azure. So it recognizes that it's got the file open in Azure and lets me know that when I open it. So there's that. Now I can just save this real quick. LucidLink will also work with Civil 3D and AutoCAD. It works with Bentley products. So there really is no CAD system that it won't work with. It will work with most ArcGIS files. Geodatabases, every platform struggles with that. So okay, yep. So it's showing a save. So I'm going to close it here and open it again here. Oh. Yeah, this is there is something going on with my machine. But I will show you something else here. You can also see oh, oops. Oh, yeah. So here's that same file. And now I'm able to save it. You can see while it's doing the save that it's got the little upload error here. That means it's streaming that file back, and that will disappear when it's finished. All right, so there's that. It will also, like I said, work with Civil 3D. I don't know if we have anybody who uses that on the call. I looked at the list here before, so I think that is all I have. We can open it to questions now, if people would like.
So you guys can hear me, right? This is Rick Kramer over
Correct.
here at Applied Software GRAITEC Group. I just wanted to chime in real quick because I have been using LucidLink now for about a month and some real impressions because honestly, I didn't know the difference between that and let's say Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive. I was like, what's the big deal? But one of the things that really struck me, and I think to drive the point home, is that anyone that's watching this, right? You watch videos. How do you watch movies at home? Everyone, no longer puts in a DVD. You stream them, right? Through Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is. And those are huge files, but we're seeing it live. We're seeing it in real time. And I think the key for LucidLink is that all the files that you're looking at, if it's 5 megs or 500 megs or a terabyte, it's there instantly. And what you're opening up at a little bit of time, like Rich had mentioned, are these tiny little blocks. And they're just one tethered to another, tethered to another. Your computer looks at those. If you're opening up 500 megs, it's no different that you're opening up 500K and it's instant on. For me, that was a game changer because anytime I would take a look at OneDrive, I'm looking at it now on my computer. I have some things that are still on cloud, some on local, all these different icons. I have no idea, but I do know when it's on the cloud and it's a large file, it takes a while for it to start to load, and it loads and dumps the whole thing on my computer. In LucidLink, it is just a fraction of that size. If I'm, and you guys, Dennis and Rich, can tell me if I'm wrong, but it's a fraction of that size as it starts to stream in. So you're opening it up and it's not pulling incredible bandwidth, which means for people like myself who might be traveling and I need that virtual drive, like Dennis had said, with this really long cable all the way to Germany or wherever it is, I can work remotely from my hotel room at the same speed as if I'm working from home. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Rich connected to his LucidLink, he had all those drives instantly. He didn't have to sit there like if I did that on OneDrive, it would have taken days for it to come in and start to connect. So for me, that was a huge game changer. But anyway, I just wanted to add a couple comments to really impress to everyone. Like this is a really huge deal. This is streaming services for data on the next level. Dennis, Rich.
Yeah. So I don't know if Misty needs to show my screen again, but
Oh, sorry about that. I can do that.
no, that's fine. No worries.
Can you go ahead and reshare it at the bottom?
Oh, do I? Oh, okay. Yep.
Give me 1 second here, guys. Sorry about that.
So Rich and Dennis both, I believe, touched on this, but this is the streaming that Rick alluded to here. So the on-demand data streaming, this is the file bits here, this blue part on the right side, and on the left side is the metadata part. So that is streaming separately from the file blocks, and it's essentially real time. So that's the splitting out of these two pieces of information about the file are how LucidLink is able to respect global file locks and also stream that data pretty much on demand. Once it's in the file space, there is no lag. It's immediate. So it takes, I think Rich has used the analogy of a piece of pie before, right? Like, so if I uploaded an entire pie to the file space and that pie, LucidLink takes that pie and breaks it into 12 pieces. And when somebody tries to access that pie, it will basically take and stream the individual pieces of that pie that it's broken that file into on demand.
That's correct. It's great. So this diagram really underscores what we call the split plane architecture, and it's really the secret sauce that gives LucidLink both the performance at distance as well as the security. So any operating system, and by the way, we work on Mac, Windows, and Linux, right? So we cover all the OSs. But from the point of view is an OS needs to understand certain things about a given file. It could be a video file, it could be a PDF, it could be a CAD CAM, whatever. And so that orange part on the lower left is LucidLink's digital cloud service, what we call the hub, and it delivers the metadata. So if David, Rich, and I are all on the file space at the same time, and David goes ahead and creates a new folder for a project that we're going to work on together, he creates and names that folder. That metadata instantly delivers that new folder to us, and it shows up in real time. And in the same function, because we have this, again, split plane architecture, we atomize those files into lots of little pieces of that pie. That's what gives us the performance and the security. So the OS understands, hey, there's a folder with data in it. And then when someone clicks to access that file, the metadata, the hub service goes and calls the blocks that relate to that file and delivers them to David, myself, Rich, whoever, in real time, giving you that kind of streaming ability that Rick talked about just a few moments ago.
Yep. And then Ron, in comparing it to LucidLink to Ignite, so I believe Ignite requires like a check-in, check-out, if I remember correctly, and LucidLink does not require that. And then also on like the cloud storage piece, I believe there's a separate charge for the storage that Ignite takes in addition to their service. The LucidLink is and maybe even egress. LucidLink is all inclusive. If you're using one of the packages that include storage, there's never any egress charges, and the storage is included in the cost. And then it does work with okay, thank you, Mark or Ron, I appreciate that. As far as Adobe Creative Cloud, it does work with Adobe files, so it will not let you overwrite another file that someone has open that's in the LucidLink file space. You wouldn't use you mentioned the Creative Cloud files as primary storage. If they're in Adobe Creative Cloud, then that's a separate storage that's not related to LucidLink.
Yeah, let me chime in there, David.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Ron, nice to hear from you. Thank you for the question. I actually worked for Adobe for over 16 years, and did a lot of work there. So, look, LucidLink is a general purpose file system. So, PDFs, video files, Photoshop, Illustrator, Substance, you name it. It doesn't matter. We're general purpose storage. So we look and act like a local drive. So anything kind of works there. And we integrate, quite well. We have a good, close working relationship with Adobe. So for example, on the video side, which is more of where I kind of came from, we've gone ahead and done some specific things like a panel for Premiere Pro to kind of create a tighter integration in that specific kind of workflow. But hopefully that answers your questions. Encourage you to kind of reach out and to the ASTI folks, and we can kind of give you some more details on Ignite versus LucidLink. Creative Cloud, like InDesign, yes, same thing. All good.
When it comes to files with us, we, just like Seagate and Western Digital doesn't care what you put on their drives. Likewise with us. You don't even see applications that are certified for LucidLink because, in the end, we're general purpose storage.
And hey guys, for the people who are watching the recording afterwards, do you want to double click on any of the questions that were in the chat?
Rich, did you want to share your screen and show Tiffany how the user permissions work in the
Sure,
LucidLink client?
sure, definitely.
Yeah, and I answered the question in the chat while he's doing that, Tiffany. But when someone saves a file to a LucidLink file space, it is not like a OneDrive or Google Drive or anything like that. It's not specific to that user. And so if they leave the company, you don't have to worry about trying to get a file out of their personal space. There's just one space inside LucidLink where it goes.
All right, so logged in as a LucidLink administrator, I can now create users. So I could create a user. I could give them a password. I could give them a password and then force them to change it on their next login. So basically, I could send an email saying, your username is such, the password is password123 exclamation point or whatever the heck you want to make it, right? And then you force them to change it on their next login. If I make them a standard user, they will have no permissions to anything to start. If I make them an administrator, they will have read write to everything that'll ever be in the file space. I'll make them a standard user. If I make him a standard user, I come down here, he doesn't have access to anything, so I would have to come in here, and now I can specify specific folders. Say I could take folder 1. I don't want to give him access to folder 1, but I don't want to give him access to subfolder 1. But maybe this one 3 deep in there, I want to give him read-only access. And he would have read-only access from there down to everything that is in there. You see, I could start giving this by folder. I could give him a read write to the audio folder. So when he logs in, all he's going to see is what I've given him permission to. Now this is pretty cool here. All right, this is pretty neat. I mean, I could create groups just to add. I could create groups. I could put the user in the group, and then that user gets the permissions that the group has. But let's say Mr. Test User 100, today's his last day, and he just left 5 minutes ago. He just walked out the door. I come in here and I say delete. Guess what? Even the data in his cache he doesn't have access to, because the only thing that can decrypt it and know how to piece it together, he has to log in successfully through the LucidLink client. As soon as I delete this, he has no access to anything, even anything that's been written in his cache. So this is instant. I could give permissions globally, boom, on demand. I can take it away as well, and it's instant. Make sense?
Sure does. Rich, just real quick, we had one quick last question, I think, about SSO. Do we support Azure AD? And I thought you might be able to open up the SSO.
Yes. So today, we support Okta and Azure AD. Now, ask me that question a little later this year. There'll be more. But today, it's Azure AD or Okta. And further that, what that means is I'm taking those SSO users and using them to authenticate to the file space. The SSO groups and the users you put in the groups that you put in the enterprise application for the file space, for use within LucidLink. That's how it's done. That's how it works.